let's proceed with the next topic, that is magnetic field of the earth. So like how earth behaves like a magnet, okay, or what is the field or how the field is generated around the earth's surface, okay, that we are going to learn here. So we'll see the magnetic field of the earth. So as we know, earth is a powerful natural magnet. It is considered as a powerful natural magnet, and its magnetic field is present at everywhere near the earth's surface, okay. We must have studied in the school that the strength of the magnetic field on the earth's surface varies from point to point, okay. So basically how this magnetic field arises, or the magnetic, why the earth behaves like a magnet, is because of the electric currents, correct? No, the electric currents produced by the convective motion of the metallic fluids, which consisting mostly of the molten iron and nickel in the outer core of the earth. So this molten metal which is present in the outer core of the earth is responsible for the electric currents. So obviously molten metals are going to have electrons. Those electrons are moving, correct? No, inside the outer core of the earth, and due to the electrons motion the magnetic effect is generated here, okay, which is basically called as the dynamo effect, which we have studied in the school, okay. So this field can be approximated to the field of magnetic dipole of the dipole moment 8 into 10 raised to 22 ampere meter square. So basically the magnetic field which is around the surface of the earth can be approximated to the value of a magnetic field of a bar magnet or of any magnetic dipole, okay, which is having a dipole moment of 8 into 10 raised to 22 ampere per meter square, okay, which is located almost at the center of the earth. So we can consider that the magnet is being embedded inside the earth's core, we can consider that, okay. The axis of the dipole makes an angle of about 20 degrees with the axis of rotation of the earth. So if we consider there is a magnet inside the earth's surface, we do not know where is the north pole, where is the south pole right now, okay. So let's consider there is a bar magnet which is inside the earth's surface. We'll see where is the north pole, where is the south pole, but the axis of this dipole which is inside the earth's magnet makes an angle of 20 degrees with the geographic axis. So if this is our geographic axis along which the earth rotates, this is the axis of rotation of the earth, then the angle between the magnetic axis, this is called as the magnetic axis, okay. So the angle between the magnetic axis and the geographic axis is approximately 20 degrees, not exactly but approximately 20 degrees. The magnetic north pole of the earth lies somewhere near the geographic south, okay. So now supposing this is our geographic north, right, this is geographic north and this is geographic south, this is geographic south, okay. So the north pole, okay, of the magnetic north pole is said to lie near the geographic south. So this is basically going to be magnetic south, okay, and this, that is the top, is going to be, sorry, magnetic north, okay, and the pole which is nearer to the geographic node will be magnetic south, okay. So this can be considered as the south pole of that magnet and this can be considered as the north pole of the magnet, okay. So how the magnetic field lines would go, the magnetic field lines would go from north pole to the south pole. So basically the magnetic field lines are going to go from north to south, okay. But if you see a figure or if you see the sign convention or if you see the convention of direction of the north and south in many of the books, or it is given like that, is the north is taken on top and the south is taken down, okay. Why is it so, that I will tell you. So supposing this is the earth's surface, in many of the textbooks, many of the reference book, or by convention you can say, the magnetic north is taken on top near the geographic north. Okay, magnetic north and magnetic south is taken down near the geographic south and geographic north. Why is this taken so? Because supposing you take a magnetic needle near the earth's surface, what it will do is, according to this convention, how the magnetic field lines will go? Magnetic field lines would be going like this, from north to south. So supposing you place a magnetic needle, what do we know? Inside a dipole, how the magnetic field line travels? Magnetic field line travels from south to north. So north has to come on top and south has to come down, because the magnetic field line should travel from south to north, correct? So the needle would arrange itself like this. That means it would point towards the south pole of the magnet. So basically it is considered as the north seeking point or the seeking pole, and that is why it is called as the magnetic north pole. So this needle is seeking for north, seeking towards north, correct? No, that is why it is called as the north seeking pole. Okay, and this one is the south seeking pole. So in general we call this as the magnetic north pole and this as the magnetic south pole. This would be the convention we will be accepting. But actually how it is the case? The case is something like this. The bar magnet is embedded inside, just hypothetically, okay? That is imaginary. There is a bar magnet inside having north pole near the geographic south and a south pole near the geographic north. It is something like this. That is why the field lines are going like this. Okay, but in actual case it is taken like this. Basically it is taken, the south pole is considered as the north seeking pole and the north pole is considered as the south seeking pole. So the geographic north, the pole which is near the geographic north, is considered as the magnetic north, and the pole which is near the geographic south is considered as the magnetic south. This is the convention we are going to accept. So if you do not have this magnet over here, you will see that you might feel that the field lines are drawn incorrect. You might say that the field lines are drawn wrong. That is, the field lines should always go from north to south. But if you see over here, it is going from south to north. But remember, it is a south seeking point, okay, or a south seeking pole, and this is a north seeking pole. And the magnetic field lines would go from south seeking pole to the north seeking pole. That is, from the magnetic south to the magnetic north. This is how the sign convention will be taken. Okay, so the magnitude of the magnetic field approximately, which is near the earth's surface, is approximated to 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla, which is approximately equal to 1 Gauss, correct? No, so the magnetic field around the earth's surface is considered to be 1 Gauss. Okay, so let's see few experimental evidences in support of this earth's magnetism. Why earth behaves like a magnet. What are the evidences which prove that earth behaves like a magnet, that we will see. So the first evidence they discovered was a freely suspended magnetic needle would come to rest roughly in the north-south direction. So if you take a magnetic needle near the earth's surface and you try to freely suspend it, okay, it is going to automatically come and rest in the north-south direction. What does this suggest? Okay, this obviously suggests that the earth behaves like a huge magnet with its south pole lying somewhere near the geographic north pole and its north pole lying somewhere near the geographic south pole. Correct? No? So if you have a earth surface and you take a needle around near the earth surface, its north-south would point something like this, towards the geographic north and geographic south. What does that mean? That earth behaves like a magnet such that there is a huge magnet embedded inside the earth's core, such that its south pole lies near the north pole, the geographic north pole, and its north pole lies near the geographic south pole. This is what the evidence proved. Okay, the second evidence was that an iron bar which was buried, okay, in the earth becomes a weak magnet after some time. So if you take an iron bar and if you bury it inside the earth, okay, and if you remove it outside, you will see that it would have attained certain magnetic properties. It will show magnetism, okay. This is another point. So magnetism is induced by the Earth's magnetic field in that iron piece, okay. So that was the second evidence. And the third is the existence of neutral point near the bar magnet will indicate the presence of Earth's magnetic field. What are neutral point? A point where there is zero magnetic field. So there are points on the Earth's surface wherever, supposing you take a bar magnet or you take a magnetic needle, the magnetic field produced by that magnetic needle would cancel out by the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, the magnet's magnetic field would cancel out the Earth's magnetic field, and at that point the magnetic field is zero. This is called as the neutral point. Okay, so such existence of such neutral points is again an evidence of the magnetic field on the Earth's surface. So now let us see some important definitions which are related to the Earth's magnetism. The first important definition is, what is a geographic axis? What do you mean by a geographic axis? So basically a straight line which passes through the geographical north. So supposing this is our Earth, okay, this is my geographical north, this is my geographical south. So the straight line which passes through the geographical north and a geographical south, about which our Earth rotates, okay, is the geographical axis. Okay, it is the axis of rotation of Earth. I'll write over here, axis of rotation of Earth. Okay, second one is magnetic axis. Okay, we just mentioned this term sometime before. What is magnetic axis? A straight line that is passing through magnetic north and magnetic south. Now every time I am going to consider the magnetic north near the geographic north only. Okay, we are going to accept that sign convention. So this is my magnetic north. Let's say this is my magnetic south. Okay, so a straight line which passes through magnetic north and magnetic south is going to be your magnetic axis. Okay, so now this magnetic axis of the Earth makes an angle approximately, I told you, of 20 degrees with the geographic axis. Okay, it's somewhere around 11.8 degrees to be approximately closer, more closer. Okay, approximately 20 we can consider with the geographical axis. At present, the magnetic south pole, okay, the magnetic south pole is located, I'll write over here, magnetic south pole, okay, is located in the northern Canada at a latitude of 70.5 degree north, okay, and a longitude of 96 degree west at this position. So you must be knowing in the geography in school, you must have studied latitude and longitudes. That is the marking on the Earth's surface which defines every point on the Earth's surface, right? Every point has certain degree, okay, depending upon the latitude and longitude. Okay, so this is the definition of that particular point where a magnetic south pole exists. Okay, and magnetic north pole, okay, and a magnetic north pole is located diametrically opposite to the south pole, obviously, at a latitude of 70.5 degrees south and longitude of 84 degrees east. So basically these are the positions of magnetic north pole and magnetic south pole. The magnetic poles are approximately 2000 kilometers away from the geographical poles. Okay, so if you compare the distance between the geographical pole and the magnetic pole, you will see that they are approximately 2000 kilometers away. The magnetic equator intersects the geographic equator at a longitude of, I'll write over here the value, 6 degree west and 174 degree east. Okay, so basically equator is, I hope you know, equator is basically the great circle which is going to be perpendicular to the magnetic axis. So supposing this is your magnetic axis, how will be your magnetic equator? Magnetic equator will be something like this. It is a great circle which will be perpendicular to your axis. What is our geometric equator? Obviously you must be knowing what is the equator. So basically it's a circle like this. That's the equator. This is a geographical equator. Okay. So the point where these two meet, where these two intersect, okay, is this point which is given over here. Okay, geographic equator at a longitudes of 6 degree west and 174 degree east. Next is magnetic equator. As I told you, it is a great circle on the earth's perpendicular to the magnetic axis. Okay, I'll just specify the name over here, that is magnetic equator. Okay, next we have is very important, that is magnetic meridian. You need to understand what is a magnetic meridian. So basically meridian means plane. Okay, what is magnetic meridian? It is a vertical plane which passes through the magnetic axis of a freely suspended small magnet. So supposing if you are standing over here, or if you are holding a needle over here, you have to see the axis of that needle. So basically a plane passing through that axis of the needle, a plane passing through the axis of the needle and the magnetic axis is going to be your magnetic meridian. Okay, so supposing the axis of this needle is something like this. Okay, and basically this is your magnetic axis, correct? No, so the plane which is passing through both of them is your magnetic meridian. The vertical plane which is passing through both of them is going to be your magnetic meridian. And similarly we have geographic meridian. What would be a geographic meridian? A vertical plane passing through the geographic North Pole and South Pole, depending upon where you are standing on the Earth's surface. Okay, at your position and let that particular longitude you consider where you are standing, and geographical axis. Okay, a plane passing through this two is going to be the geographical meridian. Okay, so geographical meridian is the vertical plane passing through the geographical North and South Pole is called as the geographic meridian. So these are some important terms you need to know over here. Now to define every position on the Earth's surface, or the magnetic field at every position on the Earth's surface, we require certain elements. There are three important elements which are going to define the magnetic field at every point on. Okay, so let's see these elements of Earth's magnetic field one by one. Okay, so the first element we have over here is magnetic declination. What do you mean by? We'll see magnetic declination. So basically declination is nothing but the angle. We also call it as the angle of declination. Okay, so this is the first element which is very important to describe the Earth's magnetic field at particular place. Okay, that is magnetic meridian. So what is magnetic meridian? The angle between the geographic meridian and the magnetic meridian at a place is called as the magnetic declination. Okay, is called as the magnetic declination, or the angle of declination at that place. Now supposing you are standing on the Earth's surface, you are checking the direction of the magnetic field at this point. Okay, so obviously this is going to be the axis of the magnetic field at the surface, because magnetic field, total magnetic field at the surface would be pointing in this direction because it comes out from the north direction. Okay, obviously it would go down here like this, and let's say that the magnetic axis is over here like this. Okay, so this becomes your magnetic meridian. Okay, now geographic axis is over here like this. So basically maybe if you are standing at this position over here, this is going to become your, I'll complete this first. Okay, let's say this is going to become your geographic meridian. Okay, there will be two planes. One plane would be the plane passing through the axis of the needle, the magnetic axis and the axis of the needle, and another plane will be passing through the geographic axis and the place where you are standing. Okay, so obviously these two planes are different at that particular place. Okay, so the angle between these two planes, the angle between the magnetic meridian and the geographic meridian is called as the angle of declination. Okay, so in this case, supposing I'll just approximately draw it. Okay, so basically if these are the two planes, okay, so this becomes the angle of declination. Okay, I'll show it to you with a simpler diagram. Okay, so this becomes the angle of declination. For example, just consider two pages of your book. Just open up two pages of your book and see the angle between them. Those will be plane. One out of them will be geographic plane, one out of them will be magnetic plane. Magnetic meridian, geographic meridian. The angle which is there between them two is called as the angle of declination or the magnetic declination. Okay, so let us say that this is my geographic north and south. Okay, let this be my geographic south, let this be my geographic north, geographic north. Okay, so obviously this is going to be my plane. Let me draw a geographic meridian. So I'll draw a geographic meridian. I'll just draw it little bit slanting so that I can mark the angle. Okay, if I draw it plane straight, I won't be able to show the difference in the planes. Okay, so let it be little bit slanting. So this is my geographic meridian. Okay, at this point over here, let's say at this point over here, I keep a needle. I keep a needle over here. So let me keep it heighted, a little bit heighted. Okay, okay, so this, let's say this needle at this point over here, it will obviously point towards geographic north and geographic south, right? So I mean magnetic north and magnetic south, right? So let me draw it like this. So let's say this needle points like this. Let's fill this as the north pole. So north pole has to go to the geographic north, correct? This way, it has to go to the geographic north. Okay, so let's say that this is the axis of magnetic needle. Okay, where the total magnetic field lies. Okay, so how would my magnetic meridian look like? So magnetic meridian would be, let's say, let's draw it this way, wherein you have the vertical plane, wherein you have this axis. Okay, like this, like this. So basically this is your magnetic meridian. Okay, and this is your geographic meridian. Okay, so now if you see, if I just compare the angles, okay, I'll just compare the angles. So if this is considered as a parallel line to magnetic field, I can consider this angle only over here, because see, this line over here and this line are parallel, no? So I'll just consider this angle only. Okay, so this is your declination. Okay, angle of declination. Okay, so to determine the magnetic declination at particular place, what you'll have to do, you have to set up the compass needle such that it freely rotates in the horizontal plane about the vertical axis. It should rotate about this vertical axis. See, I'll mark the vertical axis for you. So this is my horizontal plane. Okay, this yellow color is the horizontal plane and it should rotate about the vertical axis. Okay, this is my vertical axis. Okay, as you can see in the figure. So this angle which I have marked over here makes that needle makes with the geographic north south direction. Okay, so it's called as the magnetic declination or the angle of declination. So by knowing this declination, we can easily determine the vertical plane in which the earth's magnetic field would lie, correct? And supposing you ask the exact position, or supposing you ask the value of this declination in India, okay, it is also given to us. So in India, the value I think at Delhi and Mumbai are given to us. So in Delhi it is 0 degree 41 minute east for Delhi. Okay, I'm telling you the angle of declination for India. Okay, and it is 0 degree 58 minutes for west for Mumbai. Okay, so if you see, they are very small, they are approximately equated to 0 only. So you can say that if you stand at Delhi or if you stand in Mumbai, okay, the magnetic axis over there, or the magnetic meridian and the geographic meridian at that place is almost very close to each other. They are very close to each other. Okay, so that the difference between them is just 0.4 or 0.58. I mean 0 degree 4 minutes, 0 degree 58 minutes. Okay, that small angle it is. Okay, so this is about magnetic declination or angle of declination. Okay, now let's move on to the second element, which is called as the angle of dip, or it is also called as magnetic inclination. Magnetic inclination. So this angle, which is made by the Earth's total magnetic field with the horizontal direction of the magnetic meridian, is called as the angle of dip. So what is angle of dip? Angle between total magnetic field, the Earth's total magnetic field, I'll explain you how, and horizontal component of B, okay, is the angle of dip. To be specific, it is the angle made by Earth's total magnetic field with the horizontal direction in the magnetic meridian. So if you have a magnetic meridian, let's say this is my magnetic meridian, I'm just drawing magnetic meridian, okay, and what is the magnetic meridian? A plane in which your magnetic needle would suspend freely. Correct? So this is your, let's say, needle which is suspended freely. Okay, so now what will be the direction of total magnetic field? Obviously the magnetic field line must be passing through the needle. So this is the direction of total magnetic field. Okay, so the angle this total magnetic field is making with the horizontal direction of the magnetic meridian. So this is BH, horizontal. This is BV. So this angle, so if you see how much dip it is taking. What do you mean by dip? If this is the surface and if you go down over here, this much is the dip you have taken. Correct? No? If you are going down here, this much is the dip you have taken. So basically, how much dip this needle is taking. Originally the needle, if no magnetic field is there, the needle will be like this. So how much it is going down from the horizontal, how much dip it is taking, is angle of dip or magnetic inclination. Okay, so what is angle of dip? The angle made by Earth's total magnetic field with the horizontal direction. This is the horizontal direction. So how much angle it makes with the horizontal direction, the total magnetic field makes with the horizontal direction of the magnetic meridian, is the angle of dip. So there is nothing to do with the geographic meridian over here now. You have to just consider the magnetic meridian and see how much dip the magnetic needle makes along the horizontal, from the horizontal. Okay, that angle would be the angle of dip or the magnetic declination. Okay, so now if more specifically, if I need to explain you, okay, more exactly, okay, let's take proper example. So let's say this is geographic south, this is geographic north. Okay, let me draw the lines. Okay, and your magnetic meridian, let it be like this. Let this be magnetic meridian. So obviously it is in this region, in this plane where your needle lies. Okay, and let's say that the needle has to point, the north has to point towards the geographic. Okay, let's say randomly we'll take. Okay, so let's say that the north is pointing like this and the south is pointing like this. Okay, so this is the axis of the magnetic field. So total magnetic field will be like this. Okay, so what will be the dip? So if I consider a line parallel to the horizontal component, okay, so what is the dip this needle has taken? It has taken a dip of this much. So this is the angle of dip. Okay, this would be the angle of dip over here. Okay, so the angle of dip will be different at different places on the earth's surface. So can you tell me what will be the angle of dip at the pole and what would be the angle of dip at the equator? Okay, so if this is our earth and these are the field lines I have marked, which is going from geographic south to geographic north, correct? And if I want to find out the angle of dip at the equator and at the poles, okay, so I'll draw the needle over here. So the needle should be placed like this, correct, because the field line has to go from south to north at the poles. And if I consider, okay, let's consider this only first. So how would my magnetic needle would point like? So magnetic this thing meridian would look like. So magnetic meridian will be, I'll draw the horizontal component with the green. Okay, I'll draw the horizontal component with the green and I'll draw the vertical component with the blue. Okay, or rather I'll show it to you here only. Okay, this is the vertical component and this will become the horizontal component. So BH and BV. So just see how much is it making, the angle made by the needle. So basically since the needle is like this, the total magnetic field would be pointing like this. So what is the angle made by the total magnetic field with the horizontal component? It is 90 degrees. So what you can say at the poles? At the poles, the angle of dip is how much? It is equal to 90 degrees. Now let us consider the needle at the equator. So needle at the equator would be how? North pole will be upwards, south pole will be down like this. Okay, so total magnetic field would be pointing in the upward direction. So if you want to draw the plane now, so this was the plane, so now just tilt this plane. See, this was the plane, correct? No? So now just tilt this plane like this, just tilt it. So what will happen is this one will become the horizontal component and this one will become the vertical component, because the vertical component has to always point towards the center, correct? No? So now see what is the angle made by the total magnetic field with the horizontal component. This is the horizontal component. You will see that at equator the angle of dip will be 0 degrees. The angle between the horizontal component and the total magnetic field will become 0 degrees. So now as you go on top, slowly you go on top, it will start increasing. At the poles it will become 0. Again it will start increasing in the other direction, it will become 0, and it will be varying between 0 and 90 only. Okay, so this is what happens. So at the magnetic equator, the dip needle rests horizontally, so that the angle of dip is 0 at the magnetic equator. Okay, at the magnetic equator it will be 0. Okay, the dip needle rests vertically at the magnetic poles, so that the angle of dip is 90 degrees at the magnetic poles. That is this situation. Okay, so at all other points on the Earth's surface, the angle of dip would vary between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. Okay, now let us see the third component. So the third component we have is nothing but the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. Okay, which we just now used, the horizontal component. Okay, so basically it is the component of the Earth's total magnetic field in the horizontal direction in the magnetic meridian. So if you have a magnetic meridian and this is the way your needle is pointing, so that will be the total magnetic field. So this one would be the horizontal component and this one would be the vertical component. So this is what matters to us, that is the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So if delta is the angle of dip at any place, so if angle of dip is represented by delta, okay, so what do you think is the horizontal component? Horizontal component is as good as resolving a vector. So wouldn't the horizontal component be b cos of delta, and the vertical component will become b sine of delta? Okay, so if you resolve this vector, that is magnetic field, into two components, horizontal and a vertical component, then we can say that BH, that is horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field, in terms of angle of dip will be what? BH will be equal to B cos of delta. Okay, just to compare. Fine. Okay, so from this equation also you can find out. See, okay, at the magnetic equator, what is the angle of dip? At the magnetic equator, angle of dip is 0 degrees. So what will be your magnetic field, horizontal component of the magnetic field at the equator? It is going to be B cos of 0. That will be nothing but B. Correct? That will be nothing but the total magnetic field. Okay, so at equator, the magnetic field in the horizontal in the horizontal direction would be equivalent to the total magnetic field. Okay, and at the magnetic poles, okay, delta is equal to 90 degrees. So BH will be equal to 0. That is, the horizontal component will not exist there. So if you remember, the total needle, the entire needle came in the vertical direction. Correct, no? We had drawn the Earth's surface. If you remember, the needle was pointing like this. It was entirely towards vertical components. There was no horizontal component. It was equal to 0. And at the equator, it was something like this. Okay, so it was entirely along BH, and BV was equal to 0 in that case. Okay, so that is what is explained using this formula also. Okay, so if we want to get relations between the elements of the Earth's magnetic field, so what that would be? Okay, so let us try to get the relation between the three elements of the Earth's magnetic field. The first was angle of declination, second angle of dip, and third the horizontal component of Earth's magnetic field. So relation between elements of Earth's magnetic field. Okay, so we just now saw BH is B cos of delta, that is angle of dip. BV will be equal to B sine of delta. Okay, so if you take the ratio of the two, if I do BV upon BH, what will I get? It will be same as B cos of delta, no, sine of delta upon B cos of delta. That will be nothing but B and B will get cancelled. Sine of delta upon cos of delta will be tan of delta. Something wrong with the tan of delta. Okay, so if you see, tan of delta is given by, so the angle of dip is given by the vertical component upon the horizontal component. So if you see this, okay, see this, or rather I'll draw it separately over here. I'll draw the figure again. So supposing the dip is happening like this, this is my magnetic meridian, needle is over here, okay, this needle is over here, so this becomes the total magnetic field. Okay, so this would become the horizontal component, this would become the vertical component. So this is my BH, this is my BV. Okay, I'll draw the geographic meridian also, just to compare. Okay, try this way. Okay, here is my geographic meridian. Yellow is my magnetic meridian. Okay, angle between them will be angle of declination. This would be the angle of declination, which is given by D. Okay, this angle is going to be dip, angle of dip. Okay, and this is the horizontal component. So all the things are drawn together. So what I did was, I took the horizontal component as B cos of delta, I took the vertical component as B sine of delta. I just took the ratio, so tan of delta I got as BV upon BH. So if I just use the parallelogram law of vector addition, okay, just combining the vectors, basics from 11th standard, I can also say that B will be equal to root of BH square plus BV square. Correct? No? The horizontal component square plus vertical component square is nothing but it is going to give me the total magnetic field. If you do not remember this, I'll show you again. BV square plus BH square will be what? BV is taken as B, H is taken as B cos of delta the whole square plus BV is taken as B sine of delta the whole square. So what is this equal to? B square, if I take out common, cos square delta plus sine square delta. Using trigonometric identity, cos square theta plus sine square theta is 1. So this is going to be B square. So BH square plus BV square will be B square. So B will be, after this step would be this. B will be root of BH square plus BV square. This comes from the formula for combining the two vectors basically. Okay, that is expressing a vector in terms of its component. Okay. So this is the these are the relations which is going to give you the relation between the declination and the horizontal component. Okay, so if we consider this equation, the first equation, if I term this equation as equation 1, okay, that is BH is equal to B cos of theta. If I term this equation as equation 2, the ratio, and if I term this equation as equation 3, so equation 1, 2 and 3 are the different relation between the elements of the Earth's magnetic field. Okay, so by knowing these three elements, we can easily determine the magnitude and direction of the Earth's magnetic field at any place. Any place magnetic field can be determined. So these are the three relations which are important. Yes. Next we have some important terms used to describe the magnetic properties of materials. If you want to define the magnetic properties of a material, how a particular material behaves in magnetism. Okay, so there are some important terms which you need to know. Okay, that is the last part of this chapter. The first term which we need to know over here is magnetizing field. Listen to this carefully. Okay, magnetizing field. So what is magnetizing field? So when a magnetic material is placed in a magnetic field, if I have a magnetic material, let's say soft iron. If I place a soft iron in a magnetic field, what happens to that soft iron? That soft iron will start acquiring magnetic properties. Magnetism is going to be induced in that material. In that soft iron, magnetism will be induced. So this magnetic field that exists in vacuum and induces magnetism is called as the magnetizing field. For example, supposing I have a solenoid. I pass a high current through this solenoid. What will happen is there will be huge amount of magnetic field which is generated in this solenoid. Now what I do is I place a magnetic material inside this solenoid. So what will happen is this magnetic material will start getting magnetized. Magnetism will be induced in this material. So who is responsible for this magnetism? This field is responsible. Because of this field, magnetism is introduced over here in this soft iron piece. So this field which is inducing magnetism in this material is called as the magnetizing field. Okay, so the magnetic field that will exist in vacuum, okay, which induces magnetism in a magnetic material is called as the magnetizing field. This is the first term. Okay, for example, if we consider a toroidal solenoid, one more example I will give you. If we consider a toroidal solenoid, okay, toroidal solenoid is what? A solenoid in a circular shape. Okay, if I consider a toroidal solenoid carrying a current of I, okay, there are n number of turns per unit length. In this toroid, there are n number of turns per unit length. I is the current. I is the current, and this solenoid is placed in vacuum. So if the solenoid has n number of turns per unit length, then the magnetic field which is set up in this solenoid, whatever the magnetic field is set up in this solenoid, inside this solenoid, okay, is given by what? Is given by B naught is equal to mu naught into Ni. This is what we had studied in the 4th chapter, correct? Mu naught Ni. So this is your magnetizing field for the toroid. That means what? Supposing I place a soft iron piece over here, this piece will get magnetized due to this magnetic field. And this magnetic field which is magnetizing that piece is called as the magnetizing field. Okay, there are a lot of terms coming ahead, so just fix this in your mind. Okay, make it clear and keep. So because there are a lot of terms which are coming which are almost similar, so you might get confused. Okay, so the first term is magnetizing field. Let's go to the second term which is called as the magnetic induction. Next term is magnetic induction. Okay, so suppose we have a toroid which is wound around a ring of magnetic material. Let's say soft iron core you have. Is a soft iron core like this. Okay, and on this soft iron core I am winding a wire. There is a closely wound wire, so basically it becomes a toroid. Okay, so under the influence of this magnetic field, B naught, that is mu naught Ni, the magnetizing field. Okay, so under the influence of this magnetizing field, let's say B naught, okay, the magnetic movement of the atomic current loop of the magnetic material will tend to align themselves with or against the magnetizing field B naught. So what will happen is, there is this soft iron core, So I'll draw this soft iron core. Okay, so obviously there will be atoms present in the soft iron core. So what will happen is, due to this magnetic field, there will be force applied on the electrons which are present in the atom. So what will happen? Those electrons will start rotating. The electrons will have motion, and since the electrons have motion, I have already discussed this with you, the electrons having motion in its orbit will behave like a magnetic dipole, because this behaves like a current carrying loop. This can be considered as a current carrying loop, and current carrying loop is nothing but a magnetic dipole. So there will be a magnetic movement which will be generated over here. Okay, I hope you are understanding. So this magnetizing field which is applied by a toroid on a soft iron core will induce the magnetic movement which will lie in the direction or maybe against the direction, depends upon the situation. So this magnetic movement would be lying either in the direction of magnetic field or against the direction of magnetic field, and this magnetic movement would produce the current on the surface of this material, and this current is called as the magnetization surface current. Okay, so basically there will be currents which will be generated on the surface of this soft iron core. Why these currents are generated? These currents are generated because of the magnetic movement which is produced. Why the magnetic movement is produced? Because the electrons are revolving inside the material. Why the electrons started revolving? Because you applied magnetizing field to that particular material by putting it inside the toroid, by winding a coil over the material. Okay, so there will be a magnetizing surface current which is represented by Im. Okay, so due to this magnetization surface current, there will be another magnetic field which is generated inside the core of the toroid. That means inside that magnetic material. So if you remember, we used to put magnetic core over which we used to wind a wire. I told you that we consider a core, and on that a solenoid wire is wound. Why is that core wound? I had told you, to increase the strength of magnetic field. So why this strength of magnetic field was increasing? Obviously this coil was producing enough of magnetic field, but then this process used to happen. And in addition of this magnetic field which was produced by this solenoid, there was one more magnetic field which was produced inside, Bm, due to this entire process, which was getting added to this magnetic field, which used to give us a huge amount of magnetic field which was needed. That is why there was an advantage of putting a soft iron core inside a solenoid. There is a reason behind it. Why do we put a soft iron core? To enhance the strength of magnetic field, to increase the strength of magnetic field. But how that magnetic field was increased? It was increased this way. Okay, because the magnetic material would tend to align themselves. Okay, I mean the magnetic movements of the magnetic material would align themselves in the direction of magnetizing field. That would add up to the magnetic field and would give us a large strength of magnetic field over here. Okay, and who is producing this magnetic field Bm? This magnetization surface currents which are produced on the soft iron surface are producing this extra magnetic field. It is producing this extra magnetic field. So what will be the total magnetic field, or what will be this magnetic field Bm over here? This Bm over here is going to be how much? It will be of the same formula, because the current will be in the circular form. Okay, so it is going to be mu naught n into Im. The current will be magnetization surface current. Okay, so the total magnetic field inside the magnetic material will be the sum of what? It will be the sum of the external magnetic field, magnetizing field which we call it, and the additional magnetic field produced due to the magnetization of the material. So magnetic field produced due to magnetization. That will be your total magnetic field. Okay, and this is called as the magnetic induction. This B is called as the magnetic induction. What was magnetizing field? This was magnetizing field. So magnetizing field in addition with the field produced due to magnetization will be magnetic induction. That is the total magnetic field will be your magnetic induction. So the magnetic induction may also be defined as the total number of magnetic field lines crossing over a particular cross-sectional area. Okay, that can also be considered, because if this is the solenoid, if this is your solenoid, okay, this is your original magnetic field. In addition, the magnetic field which is produced will be in the same direction. So if you consider a cross-sectional area, the number of field lines which are passing this cross-sectional area will be your magnetic induction. So it can be another definition of magnetic induction, that is the number of field lines crossing per unit area which is kept normally to the material. Okay. Now SI unit of this magnetic induction will be what? The SI unit will be, obviously it's a magnetic field, so Tesla or Weber per meter square. Okay. Or it is same as Newton per meter per ampere, or it can also be put as joules per ampere per meter square. So these are the 4 units that can be used for magnetic induction. So this is the second term which is there over here. Okay, so we'll stop here for today. We'll continue in the next class.